Oh, we're here. We made it. We are live.
Some of
What?
us are. I
What?
I pre-recorded my part, by the way.
Uh, okay, so you already have the answers all ready to go, and it's just a recording that I'm talking to.
Absolutely. I sent you all the questions and I answered them before you did them. No, but I think we should let people know why we're late because some people are not technologically hip and couldn't get online for some reason.
Come on, George.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Sorry, guys.
George
Sorry,
was
guys.
George.
I've been on for 9 hours.
Yeah, you've been on. You've never been off. That's for sure. Okay, I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, Harry, thank you for pulling the guys together and doing this for me. I really appreciate it. And to Luis, who's what is it, 12:30 or 12:30 a.m.
At
Yes, it
least.
is. Yeah,
Uh, thank you for staying up.
I know for sure.
And,
Where are you, Luis?
In Austria,
Ah,
beautiful Leibniz, Austria, just south of Graz. 9 hours ahead.
and thank you, George, for helping Harry get through the technical.
shh.
Uh,
What do you mean helping Harry?
well, guiding him through it. And Dan, thank you for talking to me while all of that was going on.
It was a pleasure. Yeah.
And
Gotta go.
Yeah.
so, right off, first question: the song I opened with.
You
that-
open?
Well, the song that we played just as we came in, right? You all heard that.
I didn't hear nothing. Did you guys hear it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
What
the
did you
Chicago song.
Oh, great.
Yeah. What? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well,
Because
this reminds me of the joke about
Oh, dear.
the sax. I got to tell you this. You know, the sax player finishes in the evening. He's putting away his sax, and this gorgeous woman comes up to him and says, "You changed my life. I'm so glad I heard you. There's nothing else I could do now but think about you and the saxophone. I want to take you home with me. I want to be your sex slave." And the only thing the sax player had to say was, "Which set did you listen to?" So, boom, boom. Okay, guys, you got to help me here, guys. So, my question was going to be, what part of the song did you play, or did you play the whole thing?
just the first part,
Intro.
Yeah.
the intro.
Okay, so you want to know how that came about. Several years ago, when Earth, Wind, and Fire and Chicago were touring together, there was talk about doing an album together, and Jason Sheff, who was with Chicago at the time, approached me. He said he had a song that he wanted to turn in as a demo. So he played me the song. He says, "Can you write some horns to this?" I said, "Sure." So I wrote horns and I tried to borrow in the style of Earth, Wind, and Fire as well as Chicago. There's little bits and pieces of that, but I had to just kind of be dictated by the song itself. So, but the song sat in the shelf for a long while, and because the deal didn't go through where they did a CD together, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, Chicago said they wanted to use it for their new album, and they wanted to use it for their title tune. So they kept the horns. To my amazement, I thought they would re-record them, but no, they kept us, the Vine Street Horns, us, the Vine Street.
Street
A
horns.
little more enthusiasm, guys.
The Vine
So they kept
Street.
us, and they
The
even gave us
Vine
credit.
Street horns.
That's right. Every time I say us or we, it's
The
The
Vine
Vine
Street horns.
with enthusiasm. All
We
right.
got a minute.
We need Johnny Holiday to say it. All right. Hey. So anyway, so it was included, and of course, they added their vocals on top of it and their guitar solo and whatnot, and they released it. And Chicago is one of my, one of the groups that influenced me a lot as a kid. Because I'm very young, and uh, high school, yeah, that's when those guys started with their hits. And so when they came out with their video, their official video, it was a real kick to hear it, hear and see them syncing to us.
The Vine Street Horns.
It was
I
really.
didn't know there was a video of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
It's a video, and they're all. It's a real video. They're performing the song, and it's us.
You know, when I grew up, it was all about Chicago in my house too, and had all of the posters from the albums on the walls in my bedroom and all of that. You know, and in '74, I was allowed to go see them live. We're hearing. What is this conversation I'm hearing here? What's going on? Are you guys getting that?
Yes.
I hear something in a distance.
Yeah, some sort of other conversation going on here.
Oh, we're getting
It's
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
All
it's
right. So what were you saying?
Okay, so anyway, so I saw them in '74 when I was a kid, and it was great. But to actually be any way associated with them was a big thrill. And then to have the track that was intended for a demo to actually be used, and it'd be the title track of their next record. And then they even listed our names on the record, which was quite surprising. And you know, it's a huge thrill, man. I have to say, that came down real nice. You know?
Yeah, it was great. I went to see them in March, just before everything shut down. They played here in Thousand Oaks. I got invited by their trumpet player and Lee Lofning, and it was a great show. It was so nostalgic, and I get self-conscious with you, Luis, smiling like. Anyway,
I'm getting all these like really great comments on the site. A bunch of them are to you.
Stay focused. Stay focused.
Yeah. No, I'm listening, but just watching too. Just
anyway.
multitasking.
You know, this is what goes on the road, ladies and gentlemen. The silliness never ends. And by the way, I didn't greet you properly. I miss you guys so much. Anyway, so I went to see Chicago, and it was a great show. Very nostalgic. It was lovely. They played all their hits, and of course, they gave me backstage passes. I went backstage. Now, like you, Dan, these guys were my heroes. As a matter of fact, when I was in my 20s, people would ask me what I dreamt of doing one day. And I said, I dream of being in a group like Chicago with horns playing for large audiences of 20, 30,000 people. And these guys, and I hope they're listening, they laughed at me. They thought I was being really ridiculous. But so anyway, I go backstage, and I was really humbled because everybody knew me. James Pankow, all those, Robert Lamb, they came up to me, knew me by name and everything. And I was like, yeesh. You know, I'm one of their peers now, or something. I mean, it's really great experience. But Chicago, yes, so all this time on one subject that you brought up, Chicago. So, anybody else have anything to say about Chicago besides their pizza? Oh.
Hey, Lynn Finbot, chiming in here, brought up a really good point. Yeah, Lynn Finbot brought up a really good point that maybe we should mute ourselves when we're not talking with that little mute button there, you know, so we to get all that feedback.
Ooh, I'm not hearing any feedback. So for the high-tech guy, which is the mute button? Okay, ask the next question. If I mute it, then I won't hear you guys either.
Okay, so this is my next question. What brought all of you guys together? How did the Vine Street Horns start?
Well, Dan, you were one of the founding members. Why don't you tell us about it? You happy now, Lynn?
That's cute.
Okay, you know, the thing about comedy is you push it past a certain level and it gets funnier and funnier.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, he's still muted.
So Dan, you're muted now.
Okay, Harry had Harry. That's crazy, man. I'm so sorry. Harry had auditioned for the Phoenix Horns, and they were the horn section for Phil Collins.
Wait a minute. I never auditioned for them.
Oh.
I never auditioned for any of the great gigs I've had.
Please do correct me.
Because when I did audition, I got turned down. So
No, so how did that come about?
Well, I knew the guys,
Hmm.
and for several years, and well, okay, let's start from way back then. I knew the guys. I knew Don Myrick. Him and I became really good friends. And then when they decided, after the No Jackets Required tour with Phil, they decided uh, something happened with the trumpet player. So they were going to get another trumpet player. And Don Myrick, he asked our good friend Ernie Fields Jr. who he thought they should ask. And then the gig came to me. It fell on my lap. As I say on several of the interviews, there was no kicking and screaming or begging or schmoozing. It just came to me. So being part of the Phoenix Horns automatically came with Phil Collins, or the other way around.
So Jeff, I'll take over from here. So then, Harry, what happened after that? What was the next play that he's gone? I love it. What happened after that?
Well, thank you. Well, as you know, Dan,
Yes.
as you know, my whole career involved being part of a horn section. I mean, from the time I was 17, I was in top 40 groups and everything. But anyway, I was always involved with the horn section, always doing the writing and all that kind of stuff. So I played Vegas with the dancing and all that kind of thing. So I learned a lot from the Phoenix Horns. Especially, it was kind of eye-opening because the Phoenix Horns was a way higher level than anything I had ever done with the horn section. Uh, and I found out that, geez, these guys got treated like stars whenever they came to sessions, you know. So I thought, hey, this is a good way to solicit work, you know, because as you know, Dan, and all you guys know, sending resumes and tapes and all that doesn't work in LA. And calling and say, hey, my name is Harry Kim. You got a gig for me? No, it doesn't work. It's all about hearsay. So, but it was different. If you say, I have a horn section, you know, and I could provide music horns for you if you're deciding to, or you're thinking about adding horns to your production, la di da di da. Make a long story short, people treat us like a band as opposed to, you know, just a guy being hired. And a lot of the producers enjoyed hiring an organized horn section for many reasons, which we could get into later. But so after I left the Phoenix Horns, which was shortly after the Sirius tour in 1990, I decided to get a horn section, you know, and so I called guys, and my first call was Dan because we worked so well together. We laugh so much together. We make fun of each other, and you know, and he had hair back then too. He had lots of hair. Show him your license, your passport photo. Anyway, so that's how that came about. We our first meeting as a horn section was at one of the rehearsal studios behind a music store, a place where we rehearsed a lot. Music store called Stein on Vine, which happened to be right across the street from the Musicians Union on Vine Street. So when we're coming up names, you know, crazy names, Dan said, hey, how about the Vine Street Horns? And hands down, it was the best suggestion of the day. You know,
What
I
were
think
the other suggestions?
the Horny Horns, but that was taken.
The Dog's Breakfast, I believe, was one of them.
No, Vine Street Horns had a great ring to it, and bam, Dan Fernero, you know, we had a couple of drinks after that and celebrated.
Could happen.
All right, where are we?
Well, let me ask you, because we talked a little bit about all of this when it came about, is the horn arrangements. Now, not only do you provide the horns, but you also provide the arrangements for a lot of things. And were the horn arrangements for Phil's tunes? Did you do those, or did he do those and then say you guys play them? How did that all work?
Well, a lot of Phil's horn arrangements were written before I was on the band by a guy named Tom Washington. When I joined the band, applaud for Tom. And so after, I guess when it's 1994, in 1990 we played his arrangement. But when it was the Vine Street Horns, I just decided to update them and kind of change them a little bit. And so a lot of things that you hear us doing is not exactly what was recorded, just for just for fun, just to make it even more difficult, right? So it's just a matter of making it our own. So, George, say something about the arrangements.
Hey, unmute yourself, dumbass.
We've all agreed that one of the things about the Vine Street Horns is how, I don't know what the right word is, how aggressive the parts are. Harry doesn't write background parts in particular. He writes, horn parts to be part of the show and to really stand out and have an impact when the section comes out. So that was something that I think Luis and I had to kind of step up when we first started rehearsing with the section. Is there's a certain point to the sound. There's a certain aggressiveness. It's not laying back. Are you okay there, Harry? Is that...
No, I just moved my chair back, but I thought, well, this would be a good sound effect.
So, it's a very present horn section. The parts are very out there and featured. Harry and I went to a concert once. A friend of ours got tickets to a huge star that was performing in Paris. We were in Paris at the time. And Harry and I agreed it was one of the best shows we had ever seen. And the horn section was just, you felt so bad for these guys because they had nothing to play. So Vine Street is not that way. You bring Vine Street in because you want them to make statements with the parts they're playing. And Harry's very good at writing parts that are really great features for the horns and fit in with what's going on in the overall, not just musically, but with the whole show.
Can I jump in here? One of the things that was mentioned the very first day in behind Stein on Vine, when Harry said, "Listen, we got to come up with a name, but we also want to talk about the direction that we want to go as a horn section and what his vision for this whole thing was." And one of the things he brought up real early in the game was the word indispensable, and he refers to it as the I word. And indispensability. It not only, do we need to have horns on it, but we need to have these horn parts on these songs. And ultimately, the goal on any tune that Harry writes for is that once you've heard it with horns, especially if it's already a tune that's been done, that you can never hear it again without horns, And Easy Lover by Phil Collins is one of the, and Philip Bailey and Nathan East. That's a great example of a song that once you've heard the original, you hear it with the horns. It adds so much to it that it becomes an indispensable part of the tune.
Yeah, that was big intention, to try to provide horns in such a way that the artist can never play it again without it. But there's an added thing, is they can never play it again without the Vine Street horns. Because that sounds funny, but one of my philosophies is, first of all, horns should never be incidental in an arrangement. Secondly, I don't believe that you should just play the notes. My whole way of thinking has to do with being a soloist. If you were a sax player, which you are, George. And all you do is play background licks behind the singer. So this is the first thing I think about when I'm arranging. I'm very linear. I want to add movement, and I want to add melodic lines behind a vocal track. But then you write these things down, or I write these things down, and try to get 4 or 5 guys to play it as if we were all the soloist. And that's what makes a difference between, having these guys who are just amazing. They seem to know exactly how I think when I write a chart, an arrangement. They go with me as far as I'm bending here, I'm falling here, I'm making this note louder than the other. Whereas if you gave that arrangement to any other horn section, they just play the notes. And there's so much more to music than just the notes. And I think we as a group are very in tune to that. We all feel the same way, and when we do sessions or we're rehearsing a new arrangement, everybody's jumping. What if we do this? What if we do that? And I say, okay, George, forget about it. You know, no. I mean, everybody makes suggestions because they understand the concept behind. Let's turn these notes into real music and put a lot of personality into it. So therefore, in the indispensable part, you know, we play a certain arrangement with a certain band a certain way, and then the next time they cheap out and hire another horn section, they'll say, well, how come it doesn't sound the same? Because they didn't put that extra personal thing that is, I think, is really important in a horn section, and important about all these guys that make music so much more meaningful to me, and also very gratifying to play with, because it's really hard to find guys that are willing to do that. You know, lots of times, you know, I get an idea, or I get coaxed into an idea. I'm looking at George because we toured with Johnny Hallyday, a French icon. I mean, there's no bigger star in France than him. My answer machine's going nuts. So, but you know, we'd have these features, and you know, I kind of wrote something for it, and, you know, because I knew it would eventually evolve. But no, George, hey, Harry, put some Vine Street horns on it. Hey, you know, he'd make me work, and I'd have to come up with these like crazy licks, and then voice them and all that stuff, like on the spot, not on the spot, but you know, in the dressing room or something. Make me work. I could just skate on these gigs. I just want to be a trumpet player, but no. But this is one of the things that's beautiful about having these guys around. They could, any crazy idea I have, they could support it, and they're willing to play and sell it. That's one of the words that I always say. You know, like even when we're in a studio and I come up with an idea, I tell the guys, sell it, because the first time we play it for the producer is going to have an impression on him, and if we don't sell it, he's going to say, nah, forget about it. But you know, the first time you play it for a producer, it's got to be the real thing. And Dan's really good at that.
This is a good time for you to play Scorchin', man, because Scorchin', the thing I sent you, Jeff, was Harry in the studio said, hey, what if we tried this? Right, Harry?
Well, yeah, and you know, the Vine Street Horns, that's one of our things is the willingness to try anything and sell it. Because I tell you, I've been with guys where I say, what if we do this? And you know, I remember one time a couple of guys went, come on, are you kidding? You know, and you know, it just breaks my groove, you know, come on. So, okay, play Scorching. This was like an a cappella horn intro that was for something. And
it's for a band, I'm sorry, it was for a band called Bila. And Terry Woolman produced it and wrote this entire record for them. And so it's kind of a Terry Woolman project. And he sent this to me about a half hour ago. I just got it from him. And I sent it to Jeff, so Jeff has it. And what it is there's a lick in the tune that follows it, a cover of the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. And there was a little bit of a horn lick that Harry wrote in there. And the guy said, hey, you know, that's really cool. Can we do more with that? And Harry said, give me a second. And he came up with what you're about to hear.
Okay, here it goes.
That was the intro to a song. You know, you figure, come on, we can come up with something better.
Who comes up with that on the spot?
Oh, well, here's another example. In 1994, during our Both Sides of the World tour with Phil Collins, we were at Soundcheck, and so Phil comes up. We were soundchecking with Sussudio. Now, in the middle of Sussudio, in the original version, there's like a drum breakdown for like 2 bars or something like that. And Phil comes up to me and says, "Can you come up with one of those slippery things you guys do and put it in there? I remember the way he said it, like, this great accent. It's one of those slippery things. So I went to my hotel room that night, and I thought everything I could think of as slippery. So I came up with that, and and then we went to the sound check the next day, and I said, Phil, check this out. Again, we rehearsed it a little bit in the dressing room and came out and sold it. You should have seen Phil's face when he heard it. I mean, he lit up. And so fans out there, whenever you hear this in the studio, think of all things slippery that I could have possibly thought of.
I think I have that queued up for you, Harry, the YouTube thing. I think I've got it pretty close. And I'm going to play that. And I will make it full screen. Here we go. Oh, come on.
Uh-oh.
Mute.
No,
Jeff, queue it up.
he's queuing it up.
Who's that guy running?
That guy was one of the runners.
Yeah.
He'd get caught.
Jeff, it disappeared on us, man. We're seeing it, but not hearing it.
Well, he's probably looking for the spot. I gotta stop leaning in like this.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah, that was it, Jeff.
Yep.
Did you hear it, though?
Yep.
Yeah. When you found it, we found it.
Okay, so I was trying to, with this...
We can't hear you.
There we go.
Yep.
You can't hear me?
No. Good.
I was trying to make it go full screen, but I couldn't make it go full screen.
Yeah, we're hearing you fine.
Okay. So, but I got the lick, though, right?
I'm not hearing him.
Yeah, play it again.
Okay. It's really short.
Yep. It feels like an hour, though, when you're playing.
Quantity makes up for it.
I guess we gotta talk about what this is again. Jeff, you only had one job.
You know, something about what George was mentioning earlier about the impact that the horn section makes. It's certainly not designed just to accompany the band and the music. It really is kind of a show unto itself, without being invasive, but always being ever present. And that for sure is reflected by the amount of fans and friends and people that just witness the show. That's one of the comments that I receive most commonly. It's like, oh my God, it's like when the horns come out, it's like it really all of a sudden the show just turns on to a whole other level. So
I've heard that many times from fans.
Yeah.
You know, even when we've with whatever show we're touring, whatever artist is, we know when you come on stage, something really exciting is going to happen, and I think that's one of the things that I love about Phil Collins or any of the other groups, and
because it's been regardless the band, it's been regardless the studio project, it's been regardless the stage, country situation, whatever. It's just the Vine Street seems to have a kind of an indelible quality that just really leaves a lot of people speechless because they can't even imagine that horns can do that sort of stuff. And at the same time, watching us like really kind of be part of the show and dancing and having fun and doing our own thing as well. So it's like it's a very very concise kind of group, not just musically, but just really in entertainment altogether. But the musician level, look, Harry, George, Dan, and I'm certainly no chump either. The level of musicianship is extremely, extremely high. It's not like just anybody can just walk in and do this. And and Harry kind of the way he writes and produces the kind of music that he's doing, he makes sure it's that way too. It's, you got to fit in musically, of course, you got to fit in, but then there's this whole other personal side to it that everybody's got to get along. There's the camaraderie that we really watch out for each other, and we just like really love and enjoy each other unconditionally, and we're always really supporting each other. It's it's a really incredible environment to be in.
Can I ask you guys?
Well, that's part of the whole thing. It is to write really hard stuff. Can I say shit on
Yeah.
there?
Yes,
To
you-
write
No,
really
no.
hard shit.
Don't say it.
Okay, I take that. I take it back. So, but to write really hard stuff and make it look easy because we are totally absorbed in the fun. And one of the things that I hear a lot from fans, and this really pleases me when I hear this, they say that they never ever paid attention to horns until they saw Phil Collins. All of a sudden, now they listen to horns because it was like incidental to them at before. And here we come on stage, and we're projecting so much fun, and we're playing some hard, and that really pleases me because that's the intention, to have a lot of fun on stage, and we're not faking it, Dan is a great dancer, and we like to ham it up. We are hams. I think we're all fire signs or something, because we actually do come in any room and just take over. It's part of our DNA. So you put a loud instrument in our hands and forget about it. It's so much fun to do this. And let me say this too. A lot of people might comment that, oh, horns shouldn't be doing that much stuff. Phil Collins always encouraged the horn section to do stuff. I remember him saying one time that he felt very insecure on stage. He felt a lot of pressure to have to entertain. So he was delighted when he saw people in the audience looking and pointing at the horn section, because it took the pressure off of him. So he said, do as much as you can. And so, of course, one shtick leads to another, and we could start a tour, and by the middle of it, we're doing all kinds of crazy things.
In '98, when the Vine Street Horns got the tour with Johnny Hallyday in France, the first gig we did with him was at the newly built Stade de France that the French had built because they were hosting the World Cup. So we didn't know. We knew this was a great artist, and we accepted the gig, and we did 3 weeks rehearsals in LA. But when we got to the Stade de France for the first rehearsals on the actual stage, it was the entire width of a stadium wide, and it was about 5 or 6 stories tall, and it had a ramp that went out to the center of the pitch for a couple hundred feet, and hydraulics, and a 40-piece orchestra coming up out of the stage, and a huge choir, and all this stuff. And we had a couple of rehearsals in there before we were going to do 3 performances sold out. So there were going to be 240,000 people that saw us in 3 days.
We never rehearsed on that stage.
And when we got there, to put together the Vine Street thing that we bring in terms of the physicality of it, and the entertainment part of it, and the staging of it, we're all wireless and in here, so we can go literally anywhere on a 150-foot stage. It was something that they gave us carte blanche to do. The director of the whole show was choreographing everything except Vine Street. He just said, do what you guys do. I know it's going to be right. And that's what we did. And we put up our own thing, and we had notes that we were going over before each song, because there was so little prep before we were going to hit in front of this whole. It was an absolutely extraordinary experience. And all of that can be seen on YouTube. If you look up Johnny Hallyday, the Stade de France, the entire concert is there, and you can see what we're doing on there. We're spread out wide on this thing, doing the same stuff, and it's a real testament to what Harry's talking about bringing something more to the thing than just music.
I will say this too. There's a lot of peripheral vision that's going on, especially with Luis and myself, because as the new guys in the section, Harry and Dan are like one brain wired together. It's hard to describe playing in that section because there are so many things that they do naturally without talking, without acknowledging. They're, for example, like falling off a note. They have like 4 or 5 different lengths of falls off the notes. There's a cough, there's a, and then there's slightly longer, then there's going across an open R, bow. So, that they know. And going to the shows, Luis and I, a lot of time, we're just kind of like looking on either side. Are we supposed to play now? Are we supposed to? Is this when we? And then after we learn the show, now we're trying to screw each other up. So Dan especially, because he knows we're peripherally looking. So he picked the horn up, even if we're not supposed to play, just to try and fake us into jumping in the song.
I would never.
Totally betas.
There's so much going on stage that the people have no idea. That's why, people who watch our concerts, especially the last, the Not Dead Yet tour, and you see us laughing, it's because we did something that's cracking each other up, and it's really so much fun to be able to do that and have the freedom to be on a high level professional gig and still be ourselves. It's just a lovely thing. And like I say, things evolve. Like Dan might do a funny dance step, and then the next night do it even funnier, and then just let's rip, and then George will mimic him, and it's just funny to us. But I think other people see it. I see fans all the time, or they write and they say that we are the most entertaining horn section they've ever seen.
This guy, Adrian Ruiz, writes in here. He wants to know how much time we rehearse together to memorize material before a major tour.
Hi, Adrian. Adrian is Kurt Covington's trumpet player and arranger.
How you doing, Adrian?
Hi, Adrian. Thanks for tuning in. So on the Not Dead Yet tour, we got the music early from Harry, say beginning of the year, and kind of practiced on our own. Then we had 10 rehearsals as a horn section in Los Angeles. Luis was living in New York at the time, so he would fly out and we would do a block of rehearsals.
Thank you, Luis.
And work on stuff, and then he would fly back, then he would come out again. So we had 10 rehearsals just as a section before we joined the band for the main rehearsals, which once again was Harry wanting the section airtight and solid before we ever walked into the first rehearsal with the band. So there you go, Adrian.
Well, that was a beautiful thing. I mean, working with Phil Collins and his organization, they are so they cooperate. I said I need rehearsals before we even get to rehearsals. Send me a budget, he said, and I sent him a budget. He sent me the money, and including paying for the rehearsal studio and all that.
Wait! You got paid for those rehearsals?
Well, you were the newbie. You were the newbie, so I took that back as your initiation.
You mean I didn't have to pay for my own flights?
Yeah, you got paid for your flights. Everything got paid for. So we had the luxury to rehearse because, I was bringing in 2 new guys, and I know that Phil is real fussy about new guys, and so we had to sell it. We walked in at our first rehearsal and
we were ready.
Sold it. Just like we did
We lit it up.
In 1994. You remember our first rehearsal in Guilford? We just knocked it out of the park. The first thing, as a matter of fact, the first thing Phil called when we first arrived in 1994 to rehearse with him. Remember, he had used the Phoenix horns for 1,000 years before that, and he was bringing in a whole new horn section. And the first thing he called was hanging long enough. You remember that? Were you nervous, Dan?
You know me, I don't get nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was petrified, is what I was, and this was the opportunity literally for my life to change forever. It's either going to like it or he's not, and I was a little nervous.
Well, this is another example of having, coming up with stuff at the last minute. When we were recording the Sirius album,
No, that's the Phoenix Orange you're speaking of.
yeah, the Phoenix, but they were the same way. They were willing to try anything, and Phil wanted something to lead into Hanging Long Enough, and I wasn't the arranger at the time. I was new also, so I let the arranger take it. So the arranger Tom Tom and Phil discussed many different ideas, and Phil was so I had an idea, and when we had spent a lot of time trying to figure out what to do in the beginning of the song, I opened my big mouth and said, "What do you think of this?" And again, his eyes lit up. Do you have that by any chance? Hanging Long Enough, the intro?
Yeah, Jeff, what the hell are you doing over there? Come on, man.
Wake up,
in.
Jeff! Somebody wake up!
Your turn.
This has been
You're muted. I can't hear you. Does anybody else hear him?
Yeah, we are fine.
I don't hear him at all.
We'll let you know
I'm
what
sorry.
he says.
Harry, can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay, so let me play it. Here we go.
He's playing it, Harry.
Here it
Oh, I don't hear it.
Should I play that again? Because it went by really fast.
They usually do.
Okay.
In and out.
Okay.
I can't hear him talking or anything he's playing.
Really?
Okay.
Well,
That's too
Anyway.
bad. It's really good stuff, Harry.
It's good, Harry. Well, you're missing a lot.
Well, that's okay.
I'm going to
Just tell
play
me
it
the
again.
punchlines. But anyway, that was one example of things that you need to know the people you're with.
Harry,
What?
when he's can you see that he's playing it?
Sorry.
Yeah, when he's going to play it, if you talk, then we can't hear it.
Oh,
All right. So, sorry that I was sleeping. I was actually trying to read some comments, but this is the first. You guys are pretty much directing me, so I'm just. You got to just tell me what you need from me.
Good. Hit play. Harry, don't talk.
Okay, one more time. Okay.
Harry Kim, ladies and gentlemen.
Harry Kim.
Was that the easier key?
I would take the credit if I heard it. Anyway, I don't hear anything. So I think that you do, Paul. It's like you dropped
You
out.
remember it.
Talk to him. Say something.
Hello.
No, I don't hear you.
No. Wow.
All right.
Really.
So, anything else? You got to
Def Jam.
somebody tell me what he asks.
Okay, so this will be my question for everybody based on Harry's arrangements and how he approaches the ensemble. How different is it for you guys to play with Harry than it is other gigs? And maybe you can repeat the question to Harry so he knows what I asked.
Harry, how much do we
You
love
make-
working with you?
Say that again. I didn't hear a word he said.
Perfect. Luis, you go first.
It's playing with this horn section. There is so much sound. It's a little crazy because we play with in-ears, so we don't really hear ourselves on stage until you pop them out just a little bit. You hear how hard we're actually pumping and playing through the instruments. So even though we're mic'd up and we have our own monitor system to ourselves, we're all playing very hard to get like a pretty intense kind of sound system or sound going as a horn section. It sounds twice the size. Most other horn players, many other horn sections, I should say, really they end up playing what we call footballs, just like a lot of long notes and really kind of pretty sounds and this and that. It's not as aggressive or as punchy as this. So for me, as a trombone player, it's a lot of fun because it's like whatever, I want to keep up with the trumpets and with the saxophone as well. So it's a lot of kind of calisthenics and doing it, punching it pretty hard, not taking it lightly. I know Harry has always appreciated that from my end, that I've never really kind of pussyfooted around playing the instrument and getting a big sound out of it. So that for me, I have a great time. Plus, it's also challenging that, memorizing it is one thing, being able to play it's a whole other thing. I know what it's supposed to sound like.
I have found that Harry's writing is very articulated. As a trumpet player, there's a lot of things that are heavily accented, and as a sax player, I really had to work on improving that to be able to fit into the section. I will say, is playing in a section, you have to be very submissive to the section, and you're looking for intonation and blend, but you have to play Harry's parts very aggressively. There's nothing laid, but you have to really be on top of it, which takes some adjusting and some getting used to. I went through a couple different mouthpieces and trying to find something that would fit in with the section, but very articulate. And also I just want to say one more thing. The showmanship and the dancing and the goofing around is all fun, but the music always comes first. So usually, most of the time when we're playing, we're standing still or doing something where we'll move and then play, and we'll move and then play. Or if it's a move, it's something we're very comfortable with. So there's no clowning that ever sacrificed the music, ever. So if you listen to any recording of any live show, it's the parts that are most important to us. Then after that, okay, what can we do to make it look good? Take it, Dan.
I mean, the key to any horn section, but particularly this one, since the head of the horn section, the concept of the horn section is in the writer, you know what I mean? And he also happens to play first trumpet. So the key to it all is being able to play the way Harry's going to play it, and being able to adapt into that mindset and that musical mindset as well, And when that happens, what he's written and the intention he has for it comes to life. And when we do that, we all have an amazing experience together, because as a unit, we're coming up with something that is completely unique, and supportive of what are really great ideas. When it comes to writing for horn sections, there are many really great, terrific writers for us out there.
No, there aren't.
Tom Walsh, Jerry Hay come to mind right at the top of my head, here. But Harry Kim is as great as anyone who's ever done this. The thing with Harry, and I'm going to tell tales out of school here, is that if we have a record date coming up for a guy and he wants a horn arranger coming on there and he wants it for Thursday morning, and he knows about this about 2 or 3 weeks in advance, he'll begin to give it some thought on Wednesday. And by the time we show up at the studio, he'll come in with no sleep, with an arrangement scribbled in pencil that is so dazzling and so right for whatever the project is that it's just undeniable. And when that happens, we get to be part of something that's really special. The thing is, man, is he comes up with his best work at the very last minute. He's just the ultimate procrastinator, and we couldn't be any more grateful for it.
Well, let me explain that. I've been that way all my life, and it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized that I'm textbook ADD. I will procrastinate if I have a difficult task on hand. I will look for anything to make me not do it, like a fixed plumbing all of a sudden. I'm painting the room, just don't make me go in that room and start having to write. And I've also realized that if I have 2 weeks to write something, I will waste 10 of those 2 weeks, actually more, 13 days out of those that 2 weeks, trying to scribble something out, and nothing really comes out. It isn't until the 11th hour that I get inspired. I have a really good friend by the name of Kurt Slutton who knows this about me, because throughout the entire, the disco days when I used to write for strings and horns, and that's back in the days when when I'd have 10 arrangements to write, strings and horns, and I'd be given only a few days, and I'd call him whimpering, I can't come up with anything. He would say, wait, the magic will come. You'll see. And this is true because I'll be toiling over a bunch of different ideas, and none of them are working in my head because I have to visualize playing it also when I'm writing. I think of the lines and I have to visualize it. That's not good. That's not good. And then all of a sudden, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, it comes to me. This is what we should do. And then it's really uncanny because then the pencil starts flying. And then come around 9 o'clock, I should be leaving for the session. I still need another hour. And so I'm calling, I'm going to be late. And so that's when I walk in there without sleep and scribbled pencil and paper. But I know what I want. So
And it's always really quite surprising, man. I mean, it's a guess, man.
well, I was like that in school. I remember having to write term papers and stuff like that, and leaving until the last weekend that it was due. And it's a lot of stress, but I can't work without the stress. And you guys constantly stressing me. That's why I hire you all the time.
It's our job. Well done, Jeff.
Hey, what else do you have to play, Jeff? What other things do you have?
I have this.
Is there a way that I can hear you?
Yes.
I mean, what is wrong with my setup here? That I don't hear you? I mean, I heard you in the beginning.
I don't know.
I never heard the music.
He's playing music right now, Harry.
What's he playing?
13 Fire.
I see your face like the morning sun is spaghetti shine.
Hey, Jeff, go to about the last 30 seconds of that tune, if you could, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
The out amp is really quite good.
okay, I'm going to try something to see if this can't reconnect Harry and myself.
Oh, good.
Bye-bye.
So how you guys been?
Okay. So I'm back. Harry, can you hear me?
I could hear you now.
You can?
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I don't hear what you play.
Okay, well, I'm going to play it right now. The last. Hold up.
Yeah, do the last bit of that. It's quite
Come
good.
on, Jeff. Come on.
Keep up.
I never said I was really good. I just said I would get you guys together. Here we go. Okay. Here it is.
Damn, Dan.
Was that
Perfect.
okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a high A that Dan played on that.
That one I had a great one.
Yeah. Let me tell you about that. For people who don't know this, that's Phil Collins playing the drums.
That's
Phil
right.
Collins, it's Eric Clapton playing guitar, and Verdine White on bass, Philip Bailey singing along with Nathan. Who else?
DJ, maybe.
Yeah, it's a compilation of really great musicians, and then they just threw in the Vine Street Horns. No, but it was a pleasure recording that. You remember that day, Dan?
Very well. We were out of Castle Oaks, I think.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic, and well, I won't tell you the story, but anyway, it was a great privilege to play that again. And again, that was just a demo, and then it ended up years later as one of the tracks on Nathan East's latest album. Somebody asked here how we come up with our choreography.
Well, it says, does a choreographer come into play? And the answer is no, never, ever. Are we told what to do?
Who's the choreographer of the group?
Harry.
I coordinate the silliness. No, I mean, the thing about it is there's certain things. I go way back to playing in show groups in Las Vegas and stuff, and it was always important to move and stuff. But there are certain things that look great that are not difficult to do while you're playing or with horns in your hands, and that's a thing that choreographers don't understand. I've done shows like American Idol where we're on stage, or Dancing with the Stars, and they get a choreographer to try to tell us what to do, and I say, sorry, we can't do that. That's unrealistic that a horn player would do that. So I come up with stuff that's action packed and stuff, but it's conducive to be able to play, and that's something that choreographers don't know. So I always try to say to choreographers, thank you, but no, we're going to come up with our own stuff, and everybody is willing to do it and not feel stupid. I mean, I know so many musicians who will not move on the stage. They just refuse to do it. And I don't get that. I think they feel silly, or they're embarrassed, or they think they're a little bit too big to do it. I don't know, but it's fun. I enjoy dancing, and I know that Dan is great at it. He's great.
So Adrian Ruiz wants to know if Harry and I split the lead trumpet in second parts during the show.
Well, answer the damn question.
What question? No, Harry and I split it up pretty much evenly. He does a little more than I do, and but it's usually split up pretty well.
Yeah, I can't read the comments and.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys read the comments for me.
Okay. Can I play another song that Harry sent me?
Please.
Harry, I'm going to play this, and you guys can explain it, what this is.
그때 그대는 누구와 달빛을 거닐었나요? 괜찮아요. 그대만 사랑은
I see Harry dancing.
그대 내 사랑이죠. 나 그대의 미래가 되었어.
Come on, guys.
Oh, that's enough of that.
Okay. Paul seems to like this. I mean, Jeff seems to like it. I call him Paul. So, so what this is was
Michael Bublé Rodriguez.
actually a friend of George recommended the Vine Street Horns. This is a Korean singer who apparently is very big in Korea, and he doing a song. Of course, he's singing in Korean, but got a cha-cha thing. I think they wanted a buble kind of thing. So I think I forget why I sent that to you. I think it would have to do with interpretation, writing horns, and interpreting a certain way. So, because like if you write a certain melody with horns and they all play it in unison as it's written, it might as well be a marching band. But like one of the things you heard about, you know, that gives it personality. And one of the things I like to do is you know, not every note gets the same emphasis, and not every note gets the same value. You know, every note has to come alive when you interpret in a horn section, and I find that very difficult to do with a lot of sections because it's not written that way. They'll say it's not written that way. So you know, one of the reasons I have a horn section is because I could tell them how to play it. So.
Stylistically, it's also really important to know what you're dealing with. Because stylistically, you're very familiar with music. I mean, there's an homage to Perez Prado in there as well. The trombones, brah, and then all the inflections. All things, like very, very personal. It's easy to listen to and get into it. You can tell by all.
Something as simple as like I always say, whole notes have a life. You know, and when you do a recording or you do a performance and you see whole notes, and people have a tendency to play them all evenly, you know, and possibly the guy who arranged it didn't give it enough forethought as a player to realize that you could bring those whole notes to life, you know, depending on what else is going on in the music. For instance, if you have a whole note, and the chord is going to change under it while you're holding it, in my heart, I feel that there should be a little lift in there. It just feels great. And then when you do that and other people get it and they do it with you, they will say, yeah, it feels great. And then there's always that one guy that says, there's no crescendo written, you know, or if it's going into a modulation and you have this whole note, and then give it a little lift before it goes into the modulation. I mean, that's how I feel about music. And not everybody does. They read the music. So, hey, I got my own horn section.
Well, Harry, you said something to me about that with these three guys with you. Some of that stuff you may not write, but you just naturally do it when you're playing.
Well, absolutely. Because these guys, we all think the same way. I mean, I don't hire these guys because I like them. I hire these guys because they think like me. You know, I mean, people will say, why did you call that guy? Why did you call that guy? Well, because they think like me, you know, about everything, even food, you know, they love food. And, remember that place we went to in Cologne? With the wheel?
Oh, come on.
With the wheel?
Never forget it. Greatest meal I've ever had in my life.
It was amazing. Anyway, we love food.
I ordered this dinner, and it was so great. I ordered it again the same night, same sitting, at a complete second helping, and then
a third time that you insist that everybody share, so you wouldn't feel so guilty.
I mean,
they
took out an $800 wheel of cheese, you know, this big, you know, and then cooked right inside it. And I posted a video of the actual thing. I filmed her doing it this second time, and
I think we all did.
It's on. You'll see it all. It's on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the whole idea of a marriage.
You don't like kidding. The person you're married to, but they think like you.
You know, unfortunately, you don't just go out.
Yo, Jeff.
Yeah, well, but it's something, you know. Where...
The wedding night was a little painful, but it's all good now.
Well,
Okay,
that was
first.
part of the audition, George. um, but but guys, but seriously, yeah, that it's part of. They always say like when you're with the right person, they can end your sentences for you. You're always thinking kind of the same way, huh? So anyway, this is in the same sense, the same thing. I need to be around people that I could connect with in so many different ways. Even like after a show, we just automatically know Luis wants to go get a drink. All right, so we go get a drink, or somebody wants to get something to eat. It's a marriage because it's not just being on stage and playing. We have to live together, so to speak,
Do
out
you
on the
guys
road.
play pranks on each other? Harry,
Sorry?
do they play pranks on you?
No, we're not pranksters, actually.
We
Not true.
sabotaged your laptop before this interview.
Is that what happened?
And listen, and I found that tampon in my bag too. By the
Oh,
way,
that's true.
Yes. Yeah,
Dan.
throughout the 2.5 years of this last tour, there was a renegade tampon that would show up everywhere, in somebody's shoe, in somebody's bag, it was just, it was like, it got, at first it was funny, and then it was like, oh, here we are. But then you look for somewhere else to hide it, So this tampon, I don't know who started with it. So, things like that, there are
Seriously, how did that start? Does anybody
think-
know how that started?
I don't know, but if Carly's listening,
I don't know.
Carly is our lovely wardrobe lady.
Love,
girl.
love, love, love.
Oh, we love her. I've known her since she was a child, because she's the daughter of the tour manager. But yeah, I think I hope Carly's listening. That way she could fess up to it. If not, I don't know who would have done it. I can't see Put doing it. Anyway, no, there's none of that stuff. I've heard of other rock bands that have water fights and stuff like that. A friend of mine toured with Joe Walsh, and one of the ongoing things was your door knocks in the middle of the night, and you open the door, and a bucket of water gets thrown at you, and that kind of stuff. And that was ongoing. So never open your door in the hotel room. But no, we don't do childish things like that.
Well, there was the one time we had a photographer on this tour, and he was taking really amazing photography of all of us, and he put a stack of photos in our dressing room of the horn section, and we removed one. Here he's laughing. We took out one of the guy's photos out of the stack, all of them. So there was these amazing photos of three of us, and we were going through them gushing, and the poor guy was just destroyed. Man, it turned out to be more cruel than funny, but it was the intention was good.
Yeah, that was a funny moment. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of, but there have been lots of spontaneous, funny moments. One thing I'll tell you, and I won't go into graphic detail, but never leave your laptop alone around George. Because you walk out of the room, and the next thing you do, you open your laptop, and you don't want to see what you see, on your screen. So he's very sneaky that way, and he's quick too. It's like, how does he do it so fast? And anyway, so
And George is the designated tech guru, the tech. You call him for assistance, everybody.
He's actually Harry's personal IT guy. Is what he is.
yeah. What do they call it? IT.
Yeah.
He's my IT.
Yeah.
I've been known as the anti-tech since technology appeared. So George is like, the thing about George, he's very generous. I mean, he's not doing it for any reason. He actually likes technology. He likes it. I've asked him to help me with something, and he'll literally spend all night trying to figure out why my laptop is doing a certain thing. He dropped out. Look at him.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
It's a technology.
Oh dear.
Anyway,
You
come
know,
back.
George, I always since the first time I met George, I was like, oh, I told him, man, I need a George in my life. I mean, we got to those rehearsals in Los Angeles, and we didn't know exactly which key we were going to play the tunes in. So George had the whole sound system set up with some kind of device on his computer that he could either change the pitch or slow it down without affecting either one. So if we just need to run through something slowly, we could run through it slowly without the pitch changing, or if we needed the same tempo as it was going to be on the show in a different key, he could adjust all that too. And I was like, wow, that's pretty slick. Of course, I'm not the technology guy either. But
Speaking of technology, so George is logged back in, but for some reason I can't get him to show up.
What happened, George?
Harry, fix it for him.
Say again?
So
did I insult him? Did I hurt his feelings? Call Shelby.
computer said,
Just the irony of calling him the IT guy.
There he is. I
Hey,
don't
welcome
have
home.
technology to get on my phone. Anyway, did you hear what we were saying? Anyway, George is the cat. Everybody needs a George.
yes.
Because
Why am I frozen?
He just enjoys doing it. Like I was saying before, I'll ask him a question about my laptop, and he'll spend hours trying to figure it out. And I'll say, you don't have to do that. And he goes, I like to do that. It's a mystery to him to figure out, to solve a puzzle. He likes to do that, so that's fine, So
Thanks, Harry.
Write my next arrangement for me, will you?
There you go.
So I have another video here that you wanted me to play. Could I do the little bit of that for
Which one is that?
Johnny Holiday, Gabrielle?
Oh. Yeah, well, yeah, I wanted you to play this. Did you cue it up to where I said?
Tell me where again to cue it up to.
It's when he gets on his motorcycle.
Okay, I'll find it.
This is, once again, are you trying to tell me something?
There
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Subtle.
It's backwards. Go. So let me give you, this is what Dan was talking about earlier. Everybody's leaving me. Bye. So, hey, take the camera with you, Dan.
Well, he's got the microphone anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I frozen on you guys, or can you see me?
We can see you. You're working fine.
Okay.
Everything seems to be working really good now. It's a good thing I know how to work this.
Right.
So,
Well done.
This has to do with what Dan was talking about with Johnny Holiday. This is our first gig at the Stade de France with a huge stage, big enough where there's a runway where his Harley came up in the middle of the stadium, and he rode it up the ramp and all that. And so to kill time, because that was the thing, he was going to get on his motorcycle and ride up the ramp and onto the stage, and we had to fill in some time. So I decided, instead of just drums, which originally was the idea, I said, well, let me write something here, and that's what it is. It's in a tune called Gabrielle by the great late Johnny Holiday. You guys who've never heard of him have no idea how big an artist he was. I mean, they still have every Sunday a memorial mass for him at the Madeleine, the cathedral in Madeleine. Every Sunday they have a mass for him. It's amazing. That's how big he was.
Okay, so I'm ready to play it.
Okay.
And
yeah, you cue it up to where he gets on his motorcycle. Yeah. So that,
Okay.
like
So
I
that's
said,
that stage.
horn-
That's that stage I talked about at the Stade de France. There, that was the first gig we ever did with that guy, man.
yeah. So that was an example also of something that, like I said, that they needed to kill time for him to get on his motorcycle and ride up, and it was originally supposed to be just the drums. So said, why not put some horns in there? And we sold it, and it was really a cool moment in the show to do
Did that drummer go on to do anything?
No, nothing ever happened for that guy.
He did, and he went nowhere.
That's the drummer for Paul McCartney now for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Abe Laboriel Jr., right?
that's
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
And
was some really-
Brian Ray was the guitarist in the band at the time. He's also been with Paul for the last 20 years.
yeah.
Wow.
Sir Paul.
But I don't know. There were like over 90,000 people in that stadium every night. We played 3 sold-out shows there that first time around, and it was pretty astounding for us because we had never played on a stage that big. It was humongous.
Well, literally, they had a 100 or 200 piece choir in white robes cascading up the back of that stage for about
400.
for about 4 or 5 stories tall, legitimately. And then they had a 40-piece symphony orchestra hydraulically come out of the stage halfway through the thing. It was quite amazing. I mean, well, like I said, you can see all of this on YouTube.
Yeah, and it was an all-star French cast. Every famous artist in France took part in that show. It was really, really
They had Lionel Richie came out with us on that too.
Yeah, it was great. So, anything else here? Oh, no, go ahead. I had something.
Well, I
else.
wanted to ask you. So, right now, what are you guys working on? Is there a project you're doing? Is there something that we can look forward to, based on everything shut down? What are you doing right now?
Well, today, Gloria Estefan just released her latest album, and Vine Street played on it. And she actually took all of her hits and re-recorded it with a Brazilian rhythm section. So instead of conga, the song is now samba, and really intricate, hard horn parts that Vine Street played on that album. And that just came out right now
Well, where can we find that?
at Harry's house.
Is it everywhere?
Yeah, it was just released this morning.
iTunes, Spotify.
It's called Brazil 305.
I don't know. What am I, a tech guy? I don't know. Look it up. You got Google.
I'm looking now. Hey,
If there was only a way to find out.
No.
Okay, I'll look for it while you guys are. Okay. And, people, we have been having a lot of comments. How many of you guys see the chat on the side?
Yeah.
Do you all see it?
yeah, we're responding to it.
Okay.
I remember the show the Vine Street Horns did just a couple of years later at the Eiffel Tower, and he must have had nearly 400 people on stage for that, as well as for his birthday party. I think they closed off the tower for about 3 or 4 days, packed it with fireworks.
10 days.
It was like they packed it with fireworks. I've never seen a fireworks on such a level. You could feel the heat.
That was funny because we
Or
never
clearly.
rehearsed that, and we knew that this particular song was going to be a finale. So they said there were going to be fireworks, but nobody knew how long these fireworks were going to go on. So we did this vamp like forever, and I decided to solo on it. And Luis, he was in the audience. And I'm not kidding. It was like 800,000 people right in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
He worked his way through the crowd. I don't know how long it took, but he finally got to the backstage area, and then when we got off the stage, because that was the last turn, he said, that was the longest trumpet solo I ever heard. Because it took them that long to learn. I was still playing a trumpet solo. And then at a certain point, I felt kind of greedy, so I passed it on to the sax player. But that's one example of the horn section instinctively knowing what to do. I wrote the skeletal vamp, and they just do. And I remember looking off to the side of the stage, and the director kept saying, "Go on, go on," because they wanted us to keep playing during a lot of the fireworks. So I think I sent you that.
20 minutes. Then it was like really just absolutely amazing. Almost as amazing as the Evian and the Veuve Clicquot backstage.
I've got the Gloria Estefan album up.
Yeah, for 305. Yeah, it's here now.
Yeah, don't worry about it because we're not really featured on anything on it.
Okay,
So,
all right. Well,
but
people
do
can-
play that Johnny Holiday at the Eiffel Tower.
Okay, let me get there. Eiffel Tower. And where should I play it from?
I sent you a starting point.
Oh boy.
Come on, Jeff.
Towards the end. Like towards the
Towards
end.
the end?
Yeah.
It's got a really long first part, and it doesn't go into the gospel section till.
Come on,
it's like-
Jeff.
Just
You've
cue
had
it up
2
when you
weeks
see-
and an extra 25 minutes to work on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
cue it up to where you see the horns on screen. I mean,
Oh, and well, I see fireworks, fireworks.
that's
Oh,
the
Is
end.
it in the middle of the fireworks?
If you see fireworks, it's at the end. It's way before the fireworks.
Before the fireworks.
Oh, this is going to be hard to keep up with you guys.
I gave you a number.
It's a long show.
All right. Let me get to the email.
Anyway, so
Oh.
that idea was. I mean that's the reason I sent it to you, to show you how
Yes, I got you.
how
Okay.
these guys came together. Like
Okay.
on what?
Yes, you did, Harry. You did send me a number. I'm adding it now. Okay. I can do it. I can do this.
Let me add this too. One of the reasons that Johnny Halliday had become so famous is because he is responsible for bringing rock and roll to France in the late 50s when he was a teenager. He actually mimicked, or actually he didn't mimic him, but he sang Elvis tunes in French, and he became all the rage in France. He's responsible for bringing rock and roll. He brought R&B, heavy metal to France, and so in this particular thing, he does a little Elvis thing, just so that people won't say, "Oh, he's trying to imitate Elvis." No, he is the French Elvis. And not an impersonator either. He is Johnny Holiday all the way. So go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
Live
Oh,
TV from 85 plus channels.
George, everybody's a critic.
Perfect.
Boy, man, he was such a powerhouse. It's hard to believe that he's actually gone, because this is the guy that looks like, he definitely looked like he would stood time, but he just seemed like he was going to be the kind of guy that was going to be around like forever.
Yeah, well,
Left a
It was-
void.
it was a huge loss for Fred.
Yeah, yeah.
I think his funeral procession had like over 1 million people just on the Champs-Elysees alone. His
Yeah.
casket went down. So it was quite something and quite an experience. And like Dan said, we had no idea who he was when we first started working with him, and it's kind of good because even throughout our history with him, we never saw him as an icon because we met him as a regular guy.
Right.
So,
And I think he liked that, you know. I think he liked that. He wasn't Johnny Halliday for just a minute when he was around us, you know.
yeah. Oh, I remember during a couple of tours when we played Monte Carlo, he would always rent a yacht, a big yacht with a crew and chefs and all that. And he would live on that, and on several tours, and it was a different yacht all the time. On several tours, the crew came to the show, and I remember backstage during the after parties, they would all come and they were shocked because they didn't realize what this guy can do. They seem to be Americans, right?
That's great. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because they saw this old man kind of walking around in his robe, sleeping till late, and just they didn't know. I mean, they were told this guy was a superstar, but Johnny Halliday had a knack for coming alive on stage. I mean, he could be totally broken off stage, but come on stage, and he was a superstar. He meant every word he sang. He had this wonderful thing that I don't see a lot of singers do, but they look at people in the eye in the audience and sing to them and sing to people.
Yeah.
They're not just singing to the air. And like I say, the reaction from the crews from the yachts he would rent were just totally shocked that this was the same guy. He was pretty amazing.
He was as big as anybody that I've ever experienced or thought of. But the thing was, he stepped into that so perfectly. It wasn't an effort for him. He wasn't trying to be cool or wasn't trying to be this bigger than life persona. He just simply was. You know, it was pretty amazing.
You just mentioned something that triggered a thought, and this doesn't really have anything to do with Johnny, but it has to do with the Vine Street Horns. Under the category of showmanship, like I said, I've been part of horn sections and show groups and all this stuff ever since I was a teenager and did Vegas lounge acts and all that. And showmanship was an important part of it. But showmanship doesn't look for real. It doesn't look sincere unless you are truly engaged in the music, which is something we discussed already, being really in the moment and really enjoying the music we're playing. So, that's the only way you could make it come off without it looking phony. So one of the things about when people ask me about showmanship is that I say it's really important because live shows is not. It's also a visual art. People ignore that fact that it's a visual art. You have to connect with the audience visually as well as musically, and like I said, you see too many horn players just kind of standing around on stage, and they look totally disconnected to the music. But if you're connected with the music and you allow yourself, because the music is very spiritual, you allow the spirit to express itself on stage, it really connects with the audience. And I think that's one of the things that I've experienced in my career where people really enjoy watching the horn section because we're there. So I tell people, people pay a lot of money to see these shows. And what is it, $300-400? Front row seats for the Phil Collins things are in the thousands of dollars, and they don't want to see a bunch of horn players with their hands in their pockets and picking their nose and whatever, like you see on some videos. So you have a responsibility as being part of the act, as being an artist and not just a horn player, to be bigger than life. You have to feel it's your responsibility to be bigger than life. And so you get on stage and you perform to the fullest. And sorry, Dan, but that's what you just said. You said bigger than life. Johnny was bigger than life. When you go on stage with a guy like that, you cannot hide in a corner. You have to get out there and also be bigger than life, and in order to support him. And as a horn player, that's always been one of my goals, is to get on stage and add to the show. You know, not hide in the shadows, because you might laugh. I'm actually naturally shy, so I have to force myself to do this, and now it becomes naturally, like Dan says, you know, get on stage and then just naturally fall into that role, and it's not phony. It's actually sincere, because I love the music. I wouldn't play with an act that I wasn't enjoying.
You know, I understand people listen with their eyes, and so entertaining and moving and everything helps give them a sense of everything of the music. But let me ask though, with no performing right now, what do you guys? Are you just going to be able to just do recordings and everything? Would you rather be performing live, or are you okay with just doing sessions and stuff right now?
Anybody?
I'd certainly rather be playing live. That's for sure.
You think it's going to come back anytime soon, where you guys can be back out there doing anything?
I think live performance is going to be one of the last things that comes out.
It won't be anytime soon.
Yeah. Personally, I'm doing a fair amount of recording at home, which is fun. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, I've been doing also a scattered amount of recording live in a studio with other guys. You know, it's all part of living. You know, something is missing, you don't miss it. You move on. You know, I realize that it's going to take a long time for this to come back. I miss the preparation for gigs, you know, just mentally. There's a mental preparation for a gig, a live gig. I miss that, but I prepare myself mentally to sit in my backyard too. So I personally don't feel like there's a void in my life. I don't know about how other people are handling it. I know that some people are having a lot of trouble, but you know, I like I say, personally, I lead a very simple life. I don't need to go out every night and party or anything like that. I may have done it once in my life, as I know others have in this group, but we're just fine at home cooking and stuff, you know. Anybody want to add? I know that Luis is living in paradise over there in Austria.
Austria seems to be somehow a little bit ahead of the game. There are a few places here in Europe, nonetheless. So there seems to be a lot more live performance coming on again. I know next week I'm going back on tour, short tour through Austria and Slovenia with my own group and Croatia. So there's still some stuff happening as well. But I was hosting this jazz festival in Grozny in Croatia a couple of weeks ago, and we opted to do everything live streamed. So what I think used to be kind of a novelty thing to live stream is now pretty much accepted as the norm. Is it a lot more fun to play with a larger audience and be outside and tour? Yeah, I'm sure. But same thing, as long as you're playing, and especially I think because we haven't played with other musicians in such a long period at this point, that it's just there's really a lot of joy in playing together.
Yeah.
Is that my pacemaker?
I think part of the future plans is that Luis is going to get us all to move to Austria,
There
And,
you
That's probably the case.
you know,
We already did it a couple of years. We about a year and a half ago already.
yeah, because I know that all kinds of stuff's happening there live. It's going to
Yeah.
be a while before. I'm supposed to go to Iceland in December. Plane tickets have been purchased. I hope it happens, but who knows? I mean, the United States is. I don't think people want us around. So we'll see how that works.
Difficult.
Well,
You know, the industry has been just decimated by what's going on. So yes, we're all recording at home, but if there are no TV shows in production, if there are no movies in production, then there's nothing to record. And,
No.
you know, we're all finding projects to work on and keep ourselves busy. We all have studios at home and we're doing work. I miss the interaction with the audience, and I really miss the interaction with other musicians. There's a lot of horn section work that's being done individually where, you know, the lead trumpet records his part first, and then I record my part at my place, and the trombone records his part, and then it all gets put together. So it's a very clean recording, but there's no spontaneity. There's no, hey, let's try this, or what if we did this, or, you know, there's none of that that's happening right now. And there's no feedback. So I worked on a project for this group called the Modern Gentlemen, who used to be Frankie Valli's backup singers, and they've now gone off on their own. So I'm recording a soulful R&B solo here at home and really like laying into it and playing really soulfully. And then I get to the end of the song and it's like, okay, well,
Crickets.
I guess I'll go have lunch now. You know, so there's none of that good job or sounds good or you suck or there's no feedback. And I'm missing the interaction with other musicians at this point more than anything else.
And
Yeah, the
Dan,
validation.
how about you, Dan?
I mean, they pretty much said it all. I mean, the industry itself has been changing so much over the last 20 years and not getting any larger, that's for sure. And with this whole shutdown situation here, whatever version comes back, when it comes back, will certainly be different. And I'm going to only guess smaller. I can't imagine it growing through this. As they're learning how to do production remotely, they're finding out how much less expensive it is than renting studio time and engineers and copyists and all kinds of stuff. So there's so many unknowns in the future for what this will be. I'm also, as was mentioned, you know, the idea of playing in an ensemble, the experience is a better word of playing in an ensemble with other musicians is there's no way to describe it. It's a beautiful. It is music. It's what it's all about. You know, we can all practice at home and play along by ourselves and all that stuff, but it's until you come with other human beings and have that interaction musically that the spirit of music is realized. And that's what I miss the most is playing with other people and having those great moments that can only happen when you're all, you know, firing on all cylinders in the same wavelength, you know, and hitting that magic. You know, it's very sad, you know. We live in a very, very interesting time, and
it's the little things too. What, you know,
Yeah.
when you're playing in a section, if Dan would paste a high note at the end of the song, and you know, you just lean over and give him a little elbow tap, or you know, if I got done playing a solo, Luis would, you know, pat my ass or what, you know, whatever. There was just always a little physical contact that, you know, hey, good job. You don't have to say anything. You just reach over and like, yeah, kid, nice job. So, you know, I'd lean over now and
Keep leaning.
I see George all the time tapping his own ass. Hey, Luis, you never tapped my ass. Why is that?
too big.
See,
my
that's
arm isn't that long.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, I always describe getting off the stage like with Phil Collins. Do you remember, Dan, when just before Sussudio, not this past tour, but in others, where we were backstage, just came off a tune, and then we're going to go back out, and we would pour water on each other because we were already drenched and we were hot. But the way I describe it, when people say, "What's it like to play these shows?" The only way I can describe it is like winning a Grand Slam tennis game. And when you see those guys throw themselves on the ground and feel this gratitude for what, that's what it feels like, except you don't throw yourself on the ground, but you come off the stage so empowered and so grateful for having experienced what you just did. It's just amazing. And that's hard to describe to people that haven't done it, and people who haven't seen us do it. It's just an amazing experience, is it not?
We're extraordinarily lucky to have that experience, and it's a very rare one to have. You know what I mean? I mean, there's, you know, we have to keep mindful of how fortunate we really are. You know, but Leland Sklar comes to mind on this, the great bassist with literally everybody. Well, a lot of times after these performances, they'll provide an escort, a police escort for the band, because if there's 30,000 people in an arena or something, and you finish your last song and you're trying to get back to the hotel, you're stuck in 30,000 cars of traffic or whatever. It's so they get us out early often. But on the rare times where that isn't the case, we'll be just sit there stuck trying to get back to the hotel, and you're coming off this elation of, the experience Harry just described, and then you're sitting in the van, man, soaking wet, going nowhere, and it's an hour to your hotel, and all you want to do is just crash. And Leland Sklar just goes, from God to God.
Oh man,
Lee is amazing. He'll walk too if the venue and the hotel are close enough together. He'll get out and
walk home.
I think Leland is the most recognizable one of all of us. And he's so gracious. He'll stop and take photos and sign autographs and all that, and that's like really lovely.
Hey, fellas. We've been at this an hour and 45 minutes, and that's not including the pre show.
Well, we're trying to stretch it because you said you were paying me by the hour.
So what happens when the host has to go pee?
Thank you. Good night.
We're doing just fine without you, Jeff. Go ahead. We'll take over.
I know. You guys were more prepared than me.
Hey, we have to do a Brady Bunch goodbye.
Oh, how did we do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong way.
To each other.
I'm not really sure where you guys are. Oh, there you are.
Oh.
So anyway, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Can you tell how many people have watched this?
Three.
Yeah.
Three.
I counted them all. 3.
We've had, I can't really see the number right now, but we've had a consistent 30 viewers consistent. Which means, and we've had 147 comments, 22 shares, and I'm sure that when I see the actual numbers, there's going to be at least 1,000 views.
At least 5 views.
How many?
Look,
is this pre-recorded? Can we watch this at another time?
You can. Actually, this stays on my Facebook page, and then I upload it to YouTube as well.
Can we pay you to take it down?
I'll do anything for money. Yeah. No, well, you know what? This has been great fun, and actually, I really haven't had to do much. As a matter of fact, you guys have directed me throughout this whole thing.
You don't have to tell us, Jeff. We're part of it.
That's usually the case when we're around. We just kind of take over.
Can you hear Jeff now?
I can't. What
Harry, move about a foot to your right. You're not centered. About a foot to
Am
your
I
right.
right?
Yeah. More. Keep going. About
Am I
a
right?
foot. Yeah, to your right.
There you go.
Yeah, that's perfect.
See you in the mirror
All right.
next to the bananas.
So this was my first group interview. And it's been one-on-one up till now, but this has been my first group interview, and it was really great doing this because you guys were fantastic, and what I liked about how you interact with each other shows up here as well as it does on stage. Does that make sense?
No. Oh, I mean, yes.
I whipped these guys into shape really well.
You know, I wish I would have recorded all the stuff we did before we went live.
Jeff, unmute yourself. Jeff.
You should have seen what I went through before. I spilled an entire cup of coffee moving stuff around.
It was part of it.
All right, so what I'm going to play us out on, and then if for some reason I'm hammered and everybody says, get those guys back, would you all be willing to do it again?
Yeah.
Look at George.
Except maybe we can start at 11 o'clock at night instead of midnight.
Just tell Harry that it starts a day before it starts.
So I'm going to play the thing Scorchin'. I'm going to play Scorchin' to close out the show. Is that okay with everybody?
Should we wait?
That was fine to
bring
me.
it, or?
So Harry, thank you so much for organizing this, and Luis, thank you so much for staying up till almost 2 a.m. there. George, thank you. Dan, thank you. And I'll let everybody go.
I love you guys, and I miss you. God bless
You
you.
too. All right, guys. Well, see you soon.
Okay, here we go.
Take care.
Bye, everybody who was watching and listening.